प्रभु की आजा रे। तेरे अपने कर्म जाए, तेरे ही संग कर्म का मूल रे। तेरे कर्म अधम पाप में जाए, नारम मन को तोल रे। माटी देखे ये तन, देखे प्रभु नमन, शरण प्रभु की आजा रे। बारंबार मिले ना ये मानुष जन्म, शरण प्रभु की आजा रे।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Any questions on what we have covered?
Janki, you had used the term absence of body, presence of mind. I just need a little bit better understanding of it.
You know, we always talk about how you should have presence of mind. So when you are confronted with some situation, you should have the wit and the wisdom to deal with it. So this is something my father-in-law used to always say. He used to say, absence of body is better than presence of mind. So if you don't create a problem, you don't have to worry about how you're going to deal with it. So basically it means don't get into the situation.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I can now understand the smile on your face when I asked the question. Yeah, understood.
So, simple things which should be obvious to anybody, that a job is done when it is given, not when it is due. Simple things like that. Like when the children were young, then they were told, oh, I have 1 week to do it, or I have 1 month to do it. No, you do it now. When it's given, you do it. When you learn the portion, you study it then. You don't say my exams are 2 months away. So if you're constantly working on prevention of problems, prevention of emergencies, prevention of everything, then you simply don't need any abilities to solve problems. And whatever little problems are there, that will be easily dealt with. Because you have all the time and attention to give it to me. Nothing else is bothering you.
Yeah, so the operative words are prevention, protection, and proactive.
Yeah. Always think ahead, not after you, not afterwards what you think. You think ahead. I'm starting a project. So how many steps forward am I thinking? Otherwise, normally what happens? Happens here also. Somebody will start a project. They will say, okay, let's do this very enthusiastically. They take something up. Then halfway through, they'll find this problem, that problem. Anticipating, why not anticipate things? That's why you see academy functions, you don't see a single error there. Because you've already anticipated all the things that could possibly go wrong and they're dealt with before. That is why, any Vedanta thing has to appear flawless. If it doesn't appear flawless, that means you haven't done enough anticipation. Now we started.
So 3 levels of peace of mind. One is when the problem takes place, deal with it in an efficient, effective manner. First of all, don't get into the problem. Yeah, because meaning nip it in the bud or whatever it is. And finally, anticipate and take protective measures so the question does not arise of your even having to invoke level 2.
Yes, always. That's the best way. The better the intellect is, the more anticipation there is. You don't meet things and say, oh my God, how did this happen? You don't meet I don't know what, ailment and then say, oh my God, what happened? You anticipate that, as you grow older, for instance, you expect a certain deterioration of capacities, and therefore, as you grow older, you increase maintenance activities. All the time, you're all the time anticipating, and it's not even like you're thinking about it too much. It's just natural to you that we'll do it this way.
Janki, one other question, if others don't want to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a question which I think has come up in one of the earlier classes, recent ones. This is about Purusharth. It has also come up earlier. I'm not very clear about, the concept of Purusharth, because at one level, it seems to suggest that Purusharth is what you decide to do in a situation, right? And at another level, we say Purusharth, if I heard it right, is not influenced by anything. But what I decide to do is influenced by something. That something could be my vasanas, it could be my current intellect functioning at a certain level, etc., etc. So this second part of the statement, which is to say that Purusharth is not influenced by anything, that is a little bit confusing.
There is a video on the channel, Free Will versus Destiny or something. You might like to look at that.
Sure.
But the important point to remember is Purushartha you translate as free will.
Yeah.
It is not my choice in a situation. By the time the situation has come, the choice is long gone. So it is my choice. It is a capacity we have to choose. It is a uniquely human capacity. No other creature has it. Right? Now, when I claim that I have a capacity to choose, if I claim this, then by very definition, it should not be influenced by anything. Because the moment it becomes influenceable, I no longer have the capacity to choose. If you are influencing my decision, then I'm not choosing. You are choosing for me. So nothing influences Purushartha, not somebody else's vasanas, and not even your own vasanas. Now, vasanas, when we say vasanas are not influencing, it means nothing can, because it's the subtlest thing. So nothing, nobody, your guru cannot influence, nothing. It is free, absolutely free. You're free to choose whatever you want. This is one element in it. The other element is the bound element. Your vasanas propel action, your conditioning takes you in a certain, all this is a bound element. But along with this bound element, which is your vasanas, you have a free element, which is your capacity to choose. So the moment you claim its freedom, by very definition, it cannot be influenced. Because the moment you influence it, you put it under cause and effect. The moment you put it under cause and effect, that thing has to happen.
That makes sense. So the definition that it is your capacity to choose has to be unfettered, not influenced by anything per se. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. But it is still something, it's our capacity. That's why that little confusion comes in.
It is a human's capacity, yes. Every human has that capacity.
Yeah, yeah. So the definition is both. Purushartha is equal to free will, operative word free, totally free, uninfluenced by anything. That's what it really means.
Yes.
Meaning, in this case, not even by your vasanas, because that's the only thing which is not influenced by your vasanas. Otherwise, most of our actions by and large are. But for every action we take, that means we are actually exercising Purusharth every waking choice that we are making.
Yes.
It's not that Purushartha is being invoked in certain special big ticket issues. It is actually being invoked in our every living choice that we make.
That's correct. Every moment your Purushartha is operating, either by active choice or by default, but it is operational.
Yeah.
And anyway, you can't say by and large vasanas influence. Everything, all cases, vasanas influence.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Thank you.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of active or default choice?
Means you can choose not to choose, right? You can say, I'm not going to choose, but that's your choice. You can say that this is the way it is and I'm going to continue this way.
Okay.
So even though you're not actively chosen something, the choice is still yours that it will continue status quo.
Right. Thank you.
Jay?
Namaste, Janki ji. I heard somewhere Purushartha means Dharmartha Kama Moksha.
Yeah. Okay, so it is the same word, but it means a different thing. Just like, I don't know what, story in English can mean a kahani or story can mean a floor, right? So Purushartha, the word itself means effort, right? So in the context we are using it, it is called self-effort. Okay, now what that means is it is as differentiated from any other influence. But then that's not clear when you say it in English. So we use freedom of choice and use these other words, so it becomes clearer. The word itself means effort, your own effort, right? So now in Indian tradition, they have said that there are 4 kinds of efforts that a person puts, but all this is in the realm of vasanas. This Purushartha is the effort we put. Like suppose somebody is not studying, so you'll say "Acha, thoda Purushartha dalo usme," like put your effort into it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about another independent capacity. So Purushartha, there being 4 Purusharthas, means there are 4 types of effort a human being can do. First one is the dharma, that means in values and ethics and rituals, all of that. Then a religious duty, both its ritual form as well as its ethics form. Then second one is in fulfillment of desires, bhoga, enjoyment. Then third one is dharma artha. Second one, is artha, earning of money and fulfillment of desires. And fourth one is, of course, moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So these are the 4 types of effort a human, people can put in their efforts to do one of these or all of these or some of these 4 things. But the word is used differently. Okay.
Thanks.
Right.
So that's where the confusion came, which is this Purushartha, as in 4 Purusharthas, is influenced by Vasanas, whereas the Purushartha that we have spoken about, which is uninfluenced, is the capacity part.
yes.
And this needs to be distinguished.
Yeah. It's the
The
same
usage.
word.
Yeah.
But it's used in 2 different contexts.
Yeah.
Yes. So where was it? Time for reflection. We have to, on a daily basis, set aside a time for reflection. Remember, if you want to change yourself, anything you want to achieve in this life, whether you want to change yourself, or you want to earn money, or you want to enjoy something, whatever purushartha, whatever effort you want to put, you can't do it like sort of randomly. Suppose a man wants to win Wimbledon championship. He cannot randomly play tennis, right? Suppose you want to learn a language. You cannot randomly do this. So anything you want to achieve, you have to allocate time to it. You cannot say, "Acha, time milega tab karenge." That means you're not really interested in it. You're not really dedicated to it. Because you know what it is, right? You will never find time. Nobody ever finds time. The most lukha fellow in the world never finds time. Okay? Time is something that you have when you work. You know that famous saying in English, if you have a job, go to a busy man. If you want something done, go to a busy man, because he will actually do it. He'll have the time to do it. But if you say, okay, this man doesn't seem to be doing anything, and you take the job to him, you will find strangely that he will never find the time to do it. Because people who work know how to work, and they get stuff done. So, if you are serious about your development, what is development? That you have changed something about yourself. You have identified weaknesses. You have identified problem areas. Hopefully you identified them before they are problem areas, because anticipation is a great part of what we do in Vedanta. Because the smarter the intellect, the more you're preventing things. It takes a second to prevent something, and it takes years to solve a problem. Right? There's in English also you say, no? Good fences would make good neighbors. If your fences are weak, the boundary is weak, you're not clear what is the boundary between 2 plots of land, then you must keep it clear from day one. Because at some stage, both parties will claim it at another place. There should not be scope for problems. Okay, parents, for instance, they don't make proper wills. Having made wills, they don't tell their children, this is your share, this is your thing share. It's not clear. And then they create endless problems. Sometimes problems that go for generations. Sometimes you're not very clear about something. ये तो सब समझते ही हैं. No, not समझते हैं. You must say it. Or you preferably write it. Because then that way we prevent problems. My father used to say this all the time. There's no problem until there's a problem. If you don't prevent a problem, well, it will go on very nicely for some time. And then eventually there'll be chaos. Whether it is in writing a will and telling your children, okay, this is yours, very clear. Okay. When my parents passed away, it's good to give personal examples, but there was no problem between my brother and me. And many of you also, I know, have had their parents pass away. There was no problem because the parents were extremely clear who is getting what, and it is all written down and explained. There's no ambiguity. The moment you keep place for ambiguity, you keep place for a problem. Right? So, so what's our point over here? A large part of Vedanta is
preventing problems.
Is anticipation. anticipation of what will happen. Not you reach a problem and say, oh my God, look at what happened. Okay? So that's not what we want. What we want is anticipation. Every one of us knows that we are going to die, right? Everyone knows this. Anybody doesn't know this, then please learn it today. We are all going to die. Now, what is to happen when we die should be clear, right? All of us know that we have to grow old. What is to happen when we grow old should be well known. All of us know that we have a body, right? As long as you have a body, it is subject to disease. What is going to happen when that disease comes? You should know. This is not rocket science. It's just simple stuff. If you don't do your exercise, you're asking for a problem to come to you. If you don't eat your proper meals, you're not regular in your habits, you're asking for problems. So it's not that you're sitting down and thinking what all problems will come. It's not like that. It is that you're taking every step correctly. Because we simply cannot. Who would have conceived that COVID is coming to us? We cannot keep on anticipating like that. But just think that you got that COVID came on us. Some of us were financially stable. We were doing our exercises. Our relationships with people in our house was fine. COVID would have gone relatively comfortably. But some of us are fighting with some people. Health is full of issues. Wealth is a question mark. COVID will be terrible, right? So it's not that you're anticipating COVID. It is that you're just doing things correctly. So anticipation is this great gift of the intellect. This is a gift of a strong intellect. That you got it right the first time, so you didn't have to correct yourself later on. Now, if you want this kind of intellect, do you think it's going to descend upon us from high heavens? We have to put in the work, right? If I have to change something about myself, I can recognize that this habit of mine is in the future going to cause me problem. I know, I can see it. I mean, everybody knows it's not great. If I don't save, if I smoke, if I don't exercise, if I'm not on harmonious terms with people around me, whatever. I mean, it's not something fantastic, just everyday, simple, commonsensical things. Okay, so I recognize that something is wrong. I want to change it. Now, how will I change it? Remember that groove has formed. Now I have to make a new groove. How do I make a new groove? I have to think on that. But is just thinking on it enough? What do I have to do?
Act.
Okay, what do I have to do?
Reflect.
Reflect.
I have to think with my intellect, right? Because the mind's thinking has been random. My intellect, I can do disciplined thinking. That way, I can counter the effect of whatever random thoughts I've had in the past. This is up to here I've studied. Remember, everyone's clear up to this point, right? Now I want to change. I want to do something different. I have to create new grooves. Then I have to give myself time to do it. Not hope, now I'm going to Vedanta classes, new grooves will be formed. If only it was like that. If only. No, you will have to put in your own work, your own independent work, if you expect to get any result out of the study. The study is extremely powerful, extremely beneficial. But you've got to do it, no? It's like saying going for a walk is very beneficial, but you have to go for a walk. No, you can't read books on walking. How is that going to help? You actually go and do it. So in this case, what have you got to do? Take out time to reflect. Well, that is what is so powerful. That is our biggest tool as a human. Take out time to reflect. So that's what this is about, the time for reflection. We need to get away from the busyness. I have to do something, I have to do something, I have to do something. No, first sit down and think. You have to and prioritize time to think and reflect. And the best time to do this, the best way to increase knowledge, is to set out a daily time to do it. Isn't it? You don't do random exercises any time in the day, do you? You have a time when you do your exercise. You don't randomly eat. You have a time when you eat. Because in your life, you prioritize these. So you have to have a time when you study. That's where we were, right? So far, so good.
Yes.
One needs to get away from the busyness of action and prioritize time to sit and reflect. The best way to increase knowledge is to set out a daily time for study and reflection. It is as important as brushing one's teeth or doing one's exercise. If one is not constantly in the pursuit of knowledge, one is stagnated. You think many people have this question. They don't have a question. Many people have this belief. I already know. I don't need to think. I don't need to learn. And why do they believe they know? For the simple reason that their life may be better than others. So they think they know. Now, each one of us knows something, no doubt. Nobody is denying you know. Each one of us knows something. But if you stay with what you know, it's only stagnation. As a human being, it is our business to keep on upgrading ourselves, you know? All the way up to moksha, all the way up to enlightenment. Of course, it is true. Anybody can say, I know. Yes, correct, you know. Who's denying you know? Everybody knows. But just knowing what I currently know and knowing that for the rest of my life means I've only stagnated. So, if one is not constantly in the pursuit of knowledge, one is stagnated. We owe it to ourselves and to others that we constantly strive for improvement. Why do we owe it to ourselves? Okay, I think you understand. But why do we owe it to others?
Nobody wants to deal with a person who can't handle himself. So
Okay. All the faults that we have, everybody else is having to bear their repercussions, isn't it? If I am late, somebody else has to bear the repercussion. If I create an issue for myself, somebody else has to bear the repercussion. If I'm an angry person, I'm losing my temper all the time, somebody else has to bear. If I'm a nagging person, somebody else has to bear. If I'm a tamasic person, somebody has to bear it. Isn't it? All my faults are troubling the whole world. 9 out of 10 of us believe that, oh, this person is troubling me and that person is troubling me. Never occurs to us how much I am troubling other people. My very existence is troubling others. Isn't it? Every time I walk on the street, I don't know how many creatures have to die because I am walking. My very existence is a problem to others. And that never occurs to me. Or all only occurs to me how other people are troubling me. Other creatures, other beings, other people. Now take a mosquito, a simple mosquito. Bichara mosquito, he's just gone to have a meal. And he sits on your hand and he's eating his food quietly. What will you do? Your parak will whack him and he will die. Sad for the poor mosquito, no? Mosquito must be saying, ये लोग मुझे खाने भी नहीं देते peacefully. आके whack देते हैं. Right? Sorry, Joyce. The mosquito must be thinking that these stupid people, they don't let me eat my food in peace. Isn't it a terrible thing? Suppose every time we went to our dining table and we got a whack from some giant like that. Terrible it would be for us, no? But that's a mosquito's life. We will not tolerate that mosquito. So our very existence is a problem for somebody else. So the more we improve ourselves, the less other people have to deal with the madness that is me. Isn't it? So I owe it to myself to improve Because as long as I am not improved, what is the consequence to me?
I stagnate.
Okay, so that's fine. But what are the consequences of not just the stagnation, but if I'm not an improved person, or to the extent I'm not an improved person?
I'm
You will
causing
deteriorate.
problems. Sorry, please go ahead.
You will deteriorate.
You will deteriorate. Okay, but what's the problem to me?
Actually, your life will be very unhappy because you are getting into problems. You have bad relationships. Nobody will respect you. You will be running into all kinds of problems continuously.
Correct. So I will be very agitated and I will not reach my potential. Means I will not be productive. This is that I am not developed. This is the problem I create for myself. What is the problem I create for others? Same thing. I will agitate them and I will not let them be productive. Because they are spending their time dealing with me instead of doing something useful in life. So at minimum, I must not trouble myself and I must not trouble anyone else. So we owe it to ourselves and to others that we constantly strive for improvement. Thus, it becomes our social, moral, and religious duty to apply ourselves to that which makes us truly human. This is my social, moral, religious duty that I seek to improve myself. The ideal time for reading and reflecting is 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'm going to read that again. The ideal time for reading and reflecting is 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Please underline and keep. Even if it is not within the realm of practical possibility, at least keep it there with a matter of fact. This is because at that time, both nature and the human system are at their purest and noblest. In other words, at that time, thoughts of revenge or anger or craving do not surface in the human system. When you get up in the morning or early morning, you are a different person. Different person means all that is best about you comes to the surface. The mind is calm. The thoughts are pure. Have you not noticed that in the morning when you wake up early? Whenever you wake up early, do you start by thinking, today I'm going to go and beat that fellow up? You don't, right? After some time, all these things come. This is just a natural phenomenon. Anything that begins pure. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a country, whether it is even a tiger cub, begins very pure. Have you seen the tiger cubs and the lion cubs? They're so cute. You feel like picking them up and stroking them. They're so cute. But a full-grown tiger, would you go and pet now? You can't, right? So everything begins pure. We are very fortunate. We are at the beginning of an institution. So at the moment, everything is very pure. Everybody is very dedicated. Everybody is, puts the cause above themselves. All this because the beginning. But decades later, or I don't know when, could be decades later, could be any time, in some point in the future, personal interest will start taking precedence over things. That's true of everything, every institution, every country, everything. So many institutions have been set up in the past. And today, what are they? They're either torn apart by competition or they are dead in tamas. Only two ends to anything. But the higher the values, the longer it goes on. That is why, the kingdom of Raghu is considered to be the greatest because it went on for so many generations. Otherwise, even wealth stays in a family 3 generations. No? But the kingdom of Raghu, the Okay, all this Dilip and Raghu and more, like for many, many generations it continued. That's why we look upon that dynasty. You see, we look upon it and worship. What must be the values of all those people that there was such a long continuity? What is it about? 8 or 10 generations continuity. Otherwise, you see, how many, where are you finding this kind of continuity? So, when something begins, it is very pure. And then over a period of time, it either goes into Rajasic downfall or Tamasic downfall. One of the two things it will go into. So similarly, in the daytime, when the day begins, 4 o'clock in the morning, just prior to sunrise, it's very calm. It's just very, very calm around. You feel a sort of difference in the environment. And you are also very calm. Do you ever get up in the morning and say, I want to have a pizza? The thought will not occur to you. Never occur to you. Get up at 4 o'clock and say, oh, I really want a burger. Will you ever do that? Never do that. Because the system is like that. So since the system, both external as well as internal, is designed for this, it's a good time to use the best part of the day for the best thing you can. Some people get up at 4 o'clock, but they'll go for a walk or something, or they'll do some exercise or something. It's a waste of that time because your intellect is at its brightest at that time. So whatever you do, you get the, you're using something for the purpose it's meant. So you get a lot of additional benefit out of it. So the ideal time for reading and reflecting is 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. This is because both nature and the human system are at their purest and noblest. In other words, at that time, thoughts of revenge or anger or craving do not usually surface in the human system. So far, so good, everyone. Any questions? Nobody asked the question, but some of y'all will think, no, some people get up in the morning with negative thoughts. Somebody might think like that. No, that may be true for you, but somebody may get up in the morning with negative thoughts. Like a drunkard, he gets up in the morning, first thing he does is he goes for his glass, right? So how is it proving this point? So as you know, in this book, what has happened is we have, sometimes the intellectualization gets too much and this book is prone to that. So points which may occur to you but are not really in the flow of thought have been indented. So we've come to that indented portion now. All indented portions you can simply ignore, or if you want to deep dive, you can read it. So our point was, in the morning, it's all pure, because no such thought. But suppose somebody has this thought, no, I know somebody who is in the morning thinks like that. Then here's the answer. If such thoughts surface, it's an example of thoughts overriding the environment. If a tendency is extraordinarily strong, it will manifest itself regardless of the situation. Most people drink at night, but if the tendency is stronger, the person will drink during the day too. If he becomes an alcoholic, the thought will crop up early in the morning too. So when the thought is very strong, it overrides the environment. Under normal conditions, a person is disinclined to get busy and involved in the early hours. Those aspects of life manifest as the sunrise. Then action starts. This purest and best part of the day must be used for that which is purest and best about a human being. This is pursuit of truth. It's using the right thing, right tool for the right effect. Okay, so okay, what have we said so far? That you need to prioritize time to think about these things. They're not going to happen because of randomly once in a while you have something. It's not going to happen. Prioritize time to study. That way the grooves will grow deeper. If you choose not to, then you will stagnate. And that's a problem both to us, ourselves, as well as to everybody else. So now that we have to prioritize, it means what do we have to do? We have to take out time. And so what time should we take out? Should I do it in the morning? Should I do it in the evening? Should I do it in my lunch break? So the next point was the best time to do it is between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Why is that time chosen? Because that's the time both our own equipment as well as nature supports. Right? Now that you have decided to prioritize the study, you have fixed your time. Now, in that time, what will you do? That's the next portion. The proportion of Shravana to Manana is 1:4. Shravana is taking in information. Manana is reflection, thinking about that information. So the proportion of taking in Shravana, taking in information to reflecting on that information should be 1:4. So for every 1 hour of lectures which you attend, how much reflection is required?
4 hours.
4 hours for every 1 hour. So in that 1 hour, you will be 4 hours, you'll maybe make your notes, you'll think about the various things that you have heard. Let it not go by like a film. You have to engage with it. Then that change comes through. And when you engage with it, you come to a conclusion that it is correct. Then you have to then take the next step of living according to that. Not in the sense of forcing yourself to practice something. But if you feel that, okay, so I learned that I should be unselfish, then I have to try to do it. When I try to do it, I will find the problems with it. Like, for instance, now we are all undertaking the crowdfunding, right? So then first question that will come in your mind is, all the time they told us, be a giver, giver, giver. Now you're saying, go and ask people, give me this, give me this. So that question has to occur to us. How is asking an act of service? I have to ask myself this question. Is it an act of service? And if so, how is it an act of service? And with your karma and your reflection and you're taking enough information, when all these work together, then you see amazing results. You cannot see it in isolation. I only attended class or I only studied in the morning. No, the karma has to go on with it because karma polishes the personality and gives you things for reflection. I mean, when you start working together, like you say, okay, I've learned I should be a good person. Then you try to be a good person, and then achhi maar padegi. Get into so much trouble trying to be a good person that you say, oh God, in class I'm learning be a good person. I go out and try to be a good person. Then look at the amount of trouble I've got into. Then you have to go back to your books and say, okay, so how did I get into trouble? Something must have gone wrong. No, what went wrong? And I will figure out what went wrong. How did I do good and get into trouble? That should not be a cause and effect relationship. So what's the cause and effect relationship of it? Like that with your study, your reflection, and the karma. All of this put together bring about change. Most people don't want to hear lectures, so they don't come to class. Then amongst people who come to class, they are happy listening to a lecture. Feels very nice listening. And that too with your video off. So you can go about doing whatever you want. Cooking also, washing dishes also, chatting also. Some phone comes also, that also you will take. All that is going on. But class is also on. So Some people, at least, they like to listen to lectures. Then they become focused listeners of the lectures. Again, look at how the proportion falls. Out of 100 people, hardly 10 will come. 10 also is a lot. Out of 1,000 people, 10 will come to listen to a lecture. Out of those 10, 7, 8 will listen only Ada sunna, Ada jana, like that. Right? Of the 3 who listen in a focused manner, only 1 or 2 will start reflecting on it. Morning study, on all of that. And out of those who are reflecting on it, doing morning study, half will start doing karma. So much, right? It's a long journey. And the numbers just drop. They just drop. Because that commitment is what makes a person what he is. And that commitment is where we lack. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, a man is what his Shraddha is. That commitment that I'm doing this. And then that means going to the end of it. Not I will do all the parts that are less effort. No, I will do the parts that trouble me. I will do the parts that are difficult. I'm going to do the whole thing. Yeah, Pravesh. So why don't the rest of y'all also put on your videos? At least some of y'all put on. Yeah, Pravesh, go ahead.
Ma'am, my question is, means before sleeping is not the right time? Before sleeping?
No, it's not. Before sleeping is the time for your body and your mind and your intellect to fade downwards. It has to go into, you see, sleep means you've gone into the unmanifest form, right? So prior to sleeping, you have to do all those things that will help you to go into the unmanifest. But when you use your intellect, you are preparing to go into action. You're preparing to go into superior manifestation. Means higher types of actions or higher thought. So it's making it upside down. Before sleep, you have to do things that are less effort, not more effort. And reflection is going to be the maximum effort. Because you're forcing yourself to think of things that you've not thought of before. Otherwise, you will simply, like you can do bhajans or something at that time. But not reflection, because reflection is effort. You don't want to engage into effort before sleep.
But most of the people are having the habit of studying or reading in the night. They means I have also experienced that intellect runs in a more effective way in the right. Means it's a habit of every individual.
No, you can't put in too much work at night. Because why would you when you want to see, you would read a novel or something different. Just chilling, relaxing. That's a different thing from studying. Studying means you're engaging so much to question what you're thinking. That doesn't make sense, right? Before sleep, you want to cool off, not do. And anyway, I don't want tired at the end of the day for this. Of course, there is some theory about nights, what owls and larks are. I don't know about that. I haven't investigated it. But it just stands to reason, isn't it? That in the morning when you're fresh, you will do things. In the evening when you're tired, whole day's work, no more work. Up to you. Whenever, start studying. It doesn't matter. If you want to study at night, but study.
Thank you.
Yeah, Taruna.
Ma'am, in continuation to what she's saying, are there any more? I have heard a lot that some people are morning person, some are night person. They're very active, energetic at night. So is that true in that case?
I haven't actually studied the phenomenon, but obviously, I mean, if you just go by the theory that morning is sattvic time, 4 to 6, all sunlight hours are rajasic, and post sunlight is tamasic, right? So people who have tamas in them, they will come alive at night because their nature and the environment will match. Those who are rajasic by nature, they'll come alive in the daytime because their nature and the environment matches. And those who are sattvic will get up early because that will be a match. That seems to stand to reason, but I haven't done any particular investigation. Once we become a research institution, we can do this investigation.
So the tamasic person come alive at night. That's why they feel very slow and dumb in the morning.
Yeah. Because not matching, no? It seems like that, but we may have to do more research into the thing. That's why if you notice across the globe, all tamasic activities happen at night, and all mythology also talks of it. Like you don't say witches, right? Now these witches, whatever the mythology is, what do we know about witches? They fly around when?
At night.
At night. What is the color of their clothes?
Black or something.
Black. So you see, everywhere, they don't know anything about us, right? They've never heard of all this Tamas Rajas Sattva. Then why are they painting everything like that? Why in English do we say call drinks a sundowner? Why is it associated with the sun coming down? They haven't learned this from us, right? There's not a Sanskrit usage, it's an English usage. And there's not an Indian usage, it's a Western usage. So if you see across the globe, there's a lot of this all the time. All the bhoot and the pishach come out when? When is it dangerous to go to a graveyard? You see, everything is associated like that. It's not just in India. Okay, you say, no, we learned all this. It's across everywhere. You find this kind of associations. Now, this is a new idea. A new idea means a 50-year-old idea about when Vedantins say new, they mean like within the century and things like that. So it's a new idea about the larks and the owls. But maybe we need more research. But just broadly speaking, it appears like that.
Thank you.
Deepak Sethi?
Yeah, I think the discussions that have ensued are to do with ceteris paribus. So it's, if everything else being equal, night is the time when you are fading down and everything, etc. And people who may actually find much more productivity at night is because they are so much involved in Rajasic that there is no time for them to really engage in anything with focus and concentration. When you get into a bed and you take up a book, that's when you have time to yourself. So it seems to be a discussion more on ceteris paribus, that everything else being equal, what you have just written in your book and what is the Vedantic, kind of this thing, is that pure in the morning, tamasic, rajasic, etc. After that, you can make your own exceptions and you can make your own customization based on ceteris paribus.
Yes, except that only one point is that people who come alive so much at night in terms of intellectual abilities would probably be people who have not been working through the day. If you've been working through the day, the last thing you want at night, most people, 99% of people at the end of the day go and plonk themselves in front of an idiot box. And why do they do that? Why does everybody go and watch television at night? Because they've come to a point where they can't put in any more effort. They can't even have their own feelings. Something will happen on television to provoke their feelings.
No, that point is taken. But it's like this. I'm a serious person. I want to study something. But I have so many responsibilities, rightly or wrongly. I've taken them. I'm a duty, maniac or whatever it is. I'm so busy that I just don't have control on my time. Then the only time I get is to do that. And that's it. But if I still feel that I need to relax more, I'll go and sit in front of the TV. Otherwise, if I'm not that kind, I'll find it easier. And I'll then make the statement, which Parvesh made, that, ma'am, I find it more productive to study at night per se. So in certain circumstances only.
Yeah, but I mean, that may or may not work because one can easily argue and say that I like to get all this done before everybody else gets it. And there are books written on that as well. Remember that 5 a.m. club and all? I never actually read the book, but people have written a whole book on how I would get up early and made millions just out of saying so much, get up early. So anyway, it requires more research maybe. This is what has been laid down now. And if it interests you, Pravesh, you can only take up the research as soon as we have a research wing and find out what is this going on here. Okay.
Ma'am, the one thing that I would like to share, that whatever I read in the night and in the morning when I wake up, those things that I have read up in the night actually means comes in my mind. And when I meditate in the morning, I try to recall all those things. And actually in morning when I read, I'm not able to understand as much as I can understand in the night. That the thing that actually
probably, okay, there are two conditions under which a person can study at night. Either that person is very tamasic, okay, and therefore has come alive, or the other person is so sattvic that again it is overriding the environment. So these are the only two conditions that we know of where this can happen. Like, why would a person think of alcoholic at 4 o'clock in the morning? It's too high in him, right? So when you're saying in the morning, I can't think, you have to ask yourself why. Is it because you haven't given yourself enough time? Suppose you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, okay? And at about 6:30, you have to start making your dabba or getting your kids ready for school. Now you sit down and say, okay, let me reflect. It can't happen because all these jobs are there ahead of you in a very short time. You're looking at the clock. So get up a bit earlier. Get up at 5:45, get up at 5:30. Then you make that comparison. Now, what you're saying is true, that whatever you think at night, those thoughts will come to you. It may come to you in your sleep, it will come to you in the morning. That is true. That is why they say take the name of the Lord and all before sleeping at night. No? So that part is correct. But check what is the reason you're not able to think in the morning. Is it because you simply don't have sufficient time? See, when you start studying, you don't just get into it, right? Little bit you will struggle and then you get into the flow. So maybe you're just giving yourself more time at night than you're giving yourself in the morning. You don't know. I mean, there's so many variables which are there. But try, experiment for a month and see what you think about it. Vidushi, you had something?
Got my answer, Janki.
May I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
Geeta here.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, in response to what Pravesh has said, she probably is exploiting a certain level of her capabilities with what she's already practicing. Maybe going by what you say, if she wakes up in the morning and tries to practice whatever she's doing, she may excel because somewhere she's going to do more than what she's already doing. Her achievements may be higher.
Okay, let us see. Pravesh, you practice and give us your feedback of what happens. Try for 1 month. See, and tell us also so that we all know.
Ma'am, I daily wake up at 5:15 because my daughter used to catch bus at 6:15. Actually, I got you that I do not have the sufficient time in the morning. Might be that is the struggling point.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so the Praj, a lot of people pull all-nighters, but it's mostly mugging up information. Yeah. Reflection will knock you out if you do it at night properly. Yeah, no more than knock. You won't be able to sleep only after that because you excited yourself. Excited yourself means you started thinking about something. You think about a problem, how will you go to sleep? Okay, so